A new study finds that plant-based diets, including soy, can reduce hot flashes, moderate to severe hot flashes by 84%. I'll say that again, 84%. That's more than 4 out of every 5 women. That is an extraordinary finding. And this comes from a brand new study led by us here at the Physicians Committee and Dr. Neil Barnard and our team of researchers. And I'm so thrilled today to have a woman with us who went through this study and experienced these changes firsthand, found some relief. And she's here today to talk about her experience. And I could not be more grateful to have her on the show with us today. Marie Pedrick. Thank you so very much for being here, Marie.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate you having me.
84%. I mean, that is an overwhelming number when you think about the fact that I think it's maybe 4 out of 75% of all women will experience hot flashes. And the typical treatment, I think, is here's some medicine and hopefully that will help. But you made a diet change with this with this study here. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about your experience. And
absolutely.
We'll start with this. I mean, what kind of symptoms were you experiencing before the study began?
Sure. I was experiencing hot flashes on a regular basis. I was not even aware of how many until I did this study. It became just a part of my life to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, all night long. And I would experience them throughout the day. But again, I had a full hysterectomy in 2018. And so for 2 years, I just learned to make it a part of my life, and I dealt with it. It was unpleasant, and I wasn't sleeping good. And then I saw this study come up in social media, and I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a try.
So when you're having these hot flashes and they're waking you up at night, one of the things I know when I don't get a lot of sleep is I get super grumpy.
Yes.
Did that happen with you? I mean, 2 years is a long time to be sleep deprived.
Yes, but when you're over the age of 50 and you've gone through all of these things, you just kind of think, okay, well, I guess this is how it's got to be, and you just learn to manage with it and hope that it'll eventually stop. And my mom and my dad both had passed from cancer, and I did not want to take any type of hormone replacement. That was a personal choice of mine. So I just suffered through with it.
And can you recall maybe one hot flash that was really just knock you over, that was just really intense?
Not so much. It was just the volume of them. It was just a constant, even in the middle of winter, waking you up in the middle of the night and just making it not a good night's sleep.
And this went on 2 years before you found the study. 2 years this was going on.
Yes.
Wow. That is a long time. That is an absolute long time. I would imagine at some point you may have felt kind of hopeless in this situation.
I did. I was kind of hoping that maybe when I hit 60, it might go away. But it just was something. It was kind of one of those things I learned to adjust and deal with. But when the study came out, I thought, well, why not? Why not see if I can get some help, get some improvement?
You mentioned that cancer runs in your family. Do you know if intense hot flashes, frequent hot flashes were also running
yes.
in your family?
So my mom passed before age 60 from breast cancer. And I remember in the dead of winter, she would go outside in like shorts and a t-shirt just to cool down, just really having extreme hot flashes.
Shorts and t-shirt in a dead of winter. And where was she living at the time? I'm assuming it's not Florida.
We live on the East Coast, and so it would have been, 30 degrees out, and she would go outside or, stick her head in the freezer, literally.
That is intense. That is intense. So with this study, I mean, it was so focused on diet. And had you thought about the role that food might be playing in all of this before you stumbled upon the study?
So with a plant-based diet, which is one of the things that this study is part of, it requires. I had done some research, but I didn't realize that it had any impact on hot flashes. So I was surprised when the two went hand in hand.
And what was your diet like before the study in the weeks leading up to it? Can you give us an example?
Sure. So it was a standard American diet, fast food and going out to eat and ordering whatever I wanted, a lot of meat, a lot of dairy, uh, and just really not a good diet. It didn't make me feel good. And also, even if I tried to eat something that was healthy, it was very Americanized or frozen or fast food, etc.
Look, you are certainly not alone. That's why they call it the standard American diet. I want to ask you though, soy obviously is a huge component of the study as well. You mentioned that your mom unfortunately passed breast cancer, and I know that soy and cancer, that is a controversial topic. So
Yes.
what were your thoughts about soy heading into this?
Um, so going into it, with this, we were required to have soybeans every day, and I had no idea. My husband even thought, "Oh my, what kind of weird study has she become a part of?" And once we were educated in the study, and we were educated about how there's a lot of misconception about soy and especially soybeans, and how it does not really affect that, and it really helped me a lot to reframe and refocus and understand. But then also, it wasn't just the research that was presented to us, it was how we felt and how I felt as a result of eating the soybeans every day.
No question about it. Did they give you a specific menu to follow? What were your instructions?
So the instructions were at least a half a cup of soybeans every day. And so I got really good at using an Instapot. I never even used an Instapot before the study. And we could put them with whatever we wanted them with. And I actually learned to really enjoy them. I never had them before, to be honest, other than in soy products. And the rest of the diet was a plant-based whole foods diet. And so no dairy, no meat. And one of the other things is also the fat content. We were supposed to keep everything under the 2.5 grams of fat, and I think that really also impacted how we felt, or how I felt during the study.
Now, I'm assuming that your husband is not experiencing hot flashes as well. So he's not participating in the study, but did he participate in the diet in support of you, or were you?
No,
No.
unfortunately, he
Oh,
didn't.
no. Oh,
I know
no.
it's such a struggle. I wish that he did. It would make my life a lot easier. But he was supportive. I mean, at first, because one of the things that made him become supportive was he said, "You're so much happier." And then of course, when I started having weight loss and less hot flashes, he was like, "Wow, this is really working for you," and he was surprised.
What kind of foods were you incorporating here? So what else were you doing
Mhm.
beside the soybean? You hadn't done the whole food plant-based diet before, so everything I'm sure was a new experience for you. But that also means that you're probably finding some pretty neat things that you hadn't tried before yet either.
Yes, yes, like edamame. I'd never had edamame before. So we one of the things in the study, we were provided with a lot of good recipes. We had a dietitian who gave us a lot of interesting ideas. Also, just being in the group, people would share different things. I think one of the easiest things, because of the pandemic, I was working from home a lot, and so it was great to just put a whole bunch of different vegetables into the Instapot with the soybeans, and make like my own homemade vegetable soup, and I would have that for lunch a couple of days a week. So it was interesting how my cooking changed. I still had to cook the two meals because he still wanted some other stuff, but it definitely expanded my horizon on different foods. And to this day, it's interesting how some people are like, "Oh, but cheese, it's so good for you. Why are you not eating it?"
Yeah, cheese is a funny thing. Dairy is a funny thing in general.
Mhm, mhm,
It's so built up as being this uh, magical milk, especially this magical health elixir. And then you see all of the data saying, well, it's not so magical after all.
mhm,
But when you learn about it, it's really eye-opening. So, what we have here, Anne Marie, is a 12-week study. How
mhm,
far into the study were you when you first began to notice, like, hey, I'm feeling
mhm,
a little bit better?
mhm. So, The hot flashes started to decrease, I would say, within the first 2 weeks. We used an app that kept track of them. And I think that's when I was also shocked at how many I had, because I was starting to keep track of them versus just, waking up in the middle of the night and not recognizing it, so to speak. So within the first 2 weeks, I started to see my hot flashes decrease. And as the weeks went on, they lessened even more. In fact, one of the staff members at PCRM reached out to me and did you forget to enter your hot flashes the last couple of days? I'm like, no, I didn't have any. So that was a good thing. But then I also started to notice other things. I started to notice I no longer needed sleeping pills. I no longer needed nose spray. I no longer needed antidepressants. I averaged about 1 to 2 pounds of weight loss a week. Some weeks I didn't, but again, I was encouraged by the group and Dr. Barnard and all the other staffs to say, it's going to take time. Your body's readjusting, and so then the next week I would still lose. But it was a slow and steady, and it definitely, I just felt so much better. And so yeah, it took a couple of weeks, but I would say almost immediately within the first 10 days, I felt it.
That's so cool when you have those tangible results, whether it's less frequency in your case of hot flashes, or you step on the scale and you say, wow, that number is, it's 2 pounds less than it was last week, and that's like such a huge motivation. I remember that being just the coolest thing ever. So I'm really glad that you got the opportunity to experience that as well. You said you didn't need sleeping pills anymore. You were able
over the counter. Yeah.
Over the counter. Right. So,
yeah.
I mean, talk to me about the quality of sleep you started to get after 2 long years.
I think just not being woken up every couple of hours was significant. I think it really helped. I think it was also because your body goes into almost like a detox of all of the junk you've been putting into it, and you just sleep better. I fall asleep naturally now, so that's a good thing.
Have you had the opportunity yet to sleep a full 8 hours uninterrupted?
Yes, I have. Yes.
And what's that like for you? Do you remember the first morning you woke up after 8 hours? You're like, oh my God.
I know, it's like a shock. It is. It definitely is a shock. And you wake up going, wow, that just happened. Okay. Yes.
That's so cool. So how would you say overall then your quality of life has improved? It sounds like we're talking about some big time improvements.
It has. I have a long way to go. I am still on my weight loss journey. I've lost a few more pounds since the study. It's really interesting because one component of the study is the lower than 2.5 grams of fat. And so, of course, when you go off of the study, and I didn't have the weekly calls, you do the things like the burgers that are now out and things like that have a higher fat content. And so it's interesting. My body will tell me and say, okay, Ann, you're getting into some of the vegan junk food that has the higher fat content. And even though it says vegan on it, you really need to pay attention because my body will tell me it's not a whole food. It's not plant-based. It's not something that, well, not even so much the plant-based, but just the whole food of, yeah, you can get it in the frozen section and you can get it already pre-made, but it may not be the best choice for you.
And are you still incorporating a lot of soybeans into your diet?
I am. I still, like I said, I still make that vegetable soup because that was the easiest way to do that and put that in there and have that for lunch. I will say I don't do it every day, but again, my body starts to let me know because some of the hot flashes will come back, and it's like, hello, you need to bring these back in because it's interesting how much more aware I am of just my body not feeling good. I have had some things go on that are out of my control that I've had to deal with, and so my body says, you need to get back to really being compliant and making better choices. And so it's not something I'm ever going to change. I used to love coffee with half and half in it. But now I love oat milk. And so I'm completely switched to that, and just little changes like that I just can't imagine ever going back. I just imagine myself going even further and not stopping and just learning to make more recipes, whether it's, getting different cookbooks, There's so many different magazines out there now that actually have different recipes in them and on the internet. So my goal is to continue and really just get even healthier, so to speak. I was gonna say my stamina, but
Well, look, I think that you are. I think that you're definitely locked in on this health journey. I think that you're going to do
yeah.
fantastically in the future because you already have experienced how good it is so far, and you can keep
Yes.
going. And I'm pretty sure you have to be optimistic that you feel good now, but you can feel even better down the line.
Yeah, when I went to my doctor a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago, I forget, but it's the first time she had seen me in the pandemic, and she's typing at her little computer, and she looks at the computer, and then she looks up at me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, you've had weight loss. When did that happen?" And then I explained to her what I was doing, and she was very supportive and just keep at it, and even if it's only a couple of pounds a month, just keep at it, and I think the benefits of just the feeling better, like you said, it really motivates you to keep going.
No question about it. And I would imagine another, big motivator is your improved mood. You mentioned that your husband
Mhm.
said that like you seem so much happier. Did anybody else, pick up on that?
Not really. It was a hard time of year. It was Thanksgiving and Christmas, and people thought I was really nuts. So, I think that, and of course, I even went to a cookout and I brought my veggie burgers, and people were like, "Yeah, what are you doing? Why?" So, I think until you experience it and you go through it yourself, you don't know. And so I think that's something that, they might have noticed I was happier, but again, it was also when we were all in lockdown, and so people weren't seeing me that much.
Right, right. But real talk, as uncomfortable as those situations can be, where
Mhm.
you feel like such an outcast, but you tap into this inner strength and you find out just how powerful you are when you're able to go to those types of events and not cave to peer
Mhm.
pressure, and you stay on your path
Mhm.
alone. So I'm sure that that was also a great feeling to you. You got a sense of
Yes,
pride leaving there that day.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And final question for you is this. What would your message be to somebody who was in your position at the time where you were looking for the study? You hadn't
Sure.
gone through these changes yet. What would you say to that woman?
Well, I really wasn't looking for the study. It just kind of happened upon me, and it was on a whim, and I knew I needed to do something health wise, and all of these different things were affecting me, and one of those being the hot flashes. But it was really interesting. The group that we had, there was so many women. I was probably the largest individual in the group, but there was women that didn't even need to lose any weight, and the incredible experience that they felt by following this diet and incorporating soybeans into their diet. It was life changing for them. And to watch that I would highly recommend if, women have any type of hormonal imbalance or hormonal issues. It's definitely worth looking into because it will make you feel better.
And Marie Pedrick, you've made me feel better today. And I'm sure that you've done that also for the thousands of women who are listening and watching to us or watching us here today as well. So thank you so very much for your time, and congratulations on the
Thanks, Chuck.
study and feeling so much better. That's fantastic.
Well, maybe in another year I'll email you again and say, look at how much else I've lost. That's the
I'm
goal.
I'm looking forward to it. I have no doubt that you'll get there.
Thank you.
If your health IQ is a couple of points higher than it was a few minutes ago, go ahead and like this video or subscribe to the YouTube channel. And to take it even higher, head over to Apple Podcast or wherever you get your favorite shows. Look for the Exam Room by the Physicians Committee. Hit the subscribe button there as well and help to make your world a healthier place.